Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the history of technology and digital creativity. The story of Adobe, a company that started in a simple backyard garage and eventually reshaped global design, publishing, filmmaking, and the entire creative economy. Hi everyone, and welcome back. I'm Hoor, and this is the story of Adobe. I hope you enjoy it. Adobe was founded in December 1982 by two brilliant computer scientists, John Warnock and Charles Geschke. They had been working at Xerox PARC, the legendary research lab that invented the graphical user interface and many of the ideas that shaped modern computing. But when Xerox refused to commercialize a breakthrough printing technology they had created, the two men made a bold decision. They resigned, walked away, and decided to build their own company. The name Adobe came from Adobe Creek, a small stream that ran behind John's home. The company's first logo was designed by his wife, Marva Warnock, who was a graphic designer. The technology that sparked everything was PostScript. At that time, printers were crude. They printed letters and simple graphics using fixed dots, which resulted in blocky output and extremely limited typography. PostScript completely changed the game. It was the first software language that allowed printers to generate clean, scalable, professional quality text and images. For the first time, high-end publishing power could reach ordinary consumers. This technology caught the attention of Steve Jobs. In 1982, he tried to buy the entire company for $5 million, but the founders declined. Instead, they agreed to sell him a minority stake, 19%, for a price that was 5 times Adobe's valuation at the time. It was an extraordinary deal, and it made Adobe the first company in SiliconValley history to be profitable in its very first year. When Apple licensed PostScript for its LaserWriter printer in 1985, the outcome was revolutionary. Suddenly, anyone with a Macintosh and a LaserWriter could create professional quality printed materials. This moment ignited the desktop publishing revolution, which quickly replaced the photo typesetting industry that had dominated since the 1950s. By the mid-1980s, Adobe was booming. The company went public in August 1986 and continued to build new products. In 1987, Adobe released Illustrator, a vector-based drawing tool for the Macintosh, which helped popularize digital graphic design. But then came the software that would change visual culture forever. Photoshop wasn't invented inside Adobe. It was created by two brothers, Thomas and John Knoll. Thomas, a PhD student, had written a small program to display grayscale images, and his brother convinced him to turn it into a full image editing suite. Adobe purchased the distribution rights in 1988, and in February 1990, Photoshop 1.0 was released for the Macintosh. At the time, digital retouching cost hundreds of dollars per hour. Photoshop brought that power into homes and small studios, and soon became the universal standard for image editing. It didn't just change photography, it changed advertising, fashion, art, and even journalism. By the early 1990s, Adobe expanded into video. In 1991, the company released Premiere, one of the first consumer-friendly video editing tools. It would eventually evolve into Premiere Pro, software used to edit feature films like Deadpool and used by countless content creators around the world today. Adobe soon acquired After Effects, which became the backbone of the motion graphics and visual effects industry. In 1991, John Warnock wrote a visionary document describing a new kind of file format, a format that could display documents exactly the same way on every computer, with perfect fidelity. The idea was simple but radical. Capture any document from any application, send it anywhere, and view it on any machine. This became the PDF, introduced in 1993 along with Adobe Acrobat. Today, PDF is one of the most widely used digital formats in the world. But Adobe's journey was not without crisis. In May 1992, Charles Geschke was kidnapped at gunpoint in the Adobe parking lot. He was held captive for 4 days while his family received terrifying ransom demands. The FBI eventually freed him in a dramatic rescue operation. The incident shocked the entire industry, but Geschke returned to work with remarkable resilience and refused to let fear control his life. It became one of the defining chapters in Adobe's history. Throughout the 2000s, Adobe continued to grow its ecosystem. Its acquisition of Macromedia brought Flash, Dreamweaver, and Cold Fusion under the Adobe umbrella, making the company an even more dominant force in web design and interactive media. But then another major turning point arrived. In 2010, Steve Jobs published his famous open letter, Thoughts on Flash, criticizing Adobe Flash for security issues, performance problems, and lack of compatibility with mobile devices. This letter effectively ended Flash's future. By 2011, Adobe officially stopped developing Flash for mobile and shifted its focus toward HTML5 and modern web standards. In 2008, Charles Geschke received the U.S. National Medal of Technology, and in 2010, both founders were awarded the prestigious Marconi Prize for their contributions to information technology. They eventually stepped back from public life, but their impact remains immeasurable. In 2012, Adobe faced one of the largest security breaches in tech history, involving millions of stolen user records. Despite this setback, the company rebuilt its security infrastructure and transitioned its business model to the cloud. Adobe CreativeCloud, launched in 2013, transformed how creative software was distributed and used, enabling seamless updates and collaboration. Today, Adobe employs more than 20,000 people and generates billions of dollars in annual revenue. Its tools, Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, After Effects, Acrobat, Lightroom, and many more, are deeply embedded in global creative culture. From designers and filmmakers to researchers, businesses, and everyday users, Adobe's products enable creativity at every level. The story of Adobe is a story of vision, timing, and courage. It shows how two scientists in a garage recognized the future of digital publishing before the rest of the world. It shows how innovation can grow into a global ecosystem that powers art, media, business, and communication. And it shows that even in the face of crisis, from rejection to competition to kidnapping, determination can still shape history. I'm Hur. This is the story of Adobe, a company that transformed creativity into a universal language and helped define the digital world we live in today. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.